you can work in a big business, but you've got to pivot and you've got to be really, really sharp around what's going on around you. Well, there's an entrepreneur in everyone, right? It's just how able you are to create something from that is a business. And that's not easy.
It's going to be fundamental, if not existential, of the agency side of the industry.
100%. I've sat in boardrooms where I've been asked to take notes, reacted straight away without thinking about it, said, why have you got no pen? Here's my pen. No one ever asked me to take the notes in a meeting again. I see it now as a strength.
Welcome to the Wild.
So welcome to Entrepreneurs in the Wild. We are here today to talk about what it is to be an entrepreneur today, and also specifically look at the role of technology and AI in an entrepreneur's journey. And joining me today is the fantastic Annika Bison, who is the marketing director and omnichannel director for Samsung here in the UK. And it's such a pleasure to have you here, Annika. I'd love you to say a few words about yourself and your journey so far before you got to Samsung.
Well, thank you for having me. My background, I came from media. So I worked in media for 17, 18 years and then moved into technology. So worked for mobile networks and then obviously now working for Samsung. So I've had quite an interesting path in as much that I've seen the transformation of physical businesses into digital businesses and then obviously scaled businesses. But one of the things that sort of sits with me, and we'll talk about it obviously, we talk about the entrepreneurial side of it, is I've seen entrepreneurs come through content. So making films and wanting to get them sort of green lit, etc. And how, you know, again, we'll come on to talk about this, but how technology is playing such a big part for that journey now is incredible.
You know, I think back to when I first started in this industry, and we had fax machines and typewriters.
No one understands the pain of a pager and having to meet someone at a certain point versus a mobile phone.
It is incredible. And then I also was sort of reflecting on all of the mobile phones that I have had over the years. Wow. Obviously some weird and wonderful ones in there, and I think I still actually I've
probably
got
worth
them
a
in a
fortune
drawer
now. Worth a fortune.
And it's just incredible looking at the sort of form and some of the, you know, it is incredible, particularly when you compare them to the modern phone of today.
I think the thing that really stands out to me, and I was talking about this when we were talking about the transition to AI that's happening, is like, if you think about the first time you had a smartphone, you know, it's the first opportunity you had your banking, your photos, you could do so many things. And it's like the phone in your pocket became part of your life in a very different way than probably some of the first phones you had. And I kind of look at that moment and you forget about it. You forget the fact that you couldn't use your phone as a boarding pass, or you couldn't use your phone as a to WhatsApp. All of these things never existed.
Yeah. And
how far technology's come. And then I sit in an exciting space where we've, obviously just launched the S24, and I think about what AI is going to do for the future. It's pretty cool.
I was reflecting in preparing for this about some of the Sony Ericsson phones we worked on before we started working with Samsung. And I can't remember the name of the phone, but it was basically billed as the sort of builder's phone. And it was massive, and it had like a sort of rubber fin at one end. And the point of it was, or so we were told.
If you dropped it,
if you drop it, it always lands on its fin, and
that's quite cool.
It's like cushions it.
Jeez.
You know, it's like even if you did drop it, you know, it was nothing. It was
like a
no
brick,
damage is going to happen.
Well, only for the floor.
Yeah. I remember one day, you know, we were brainstorming, and some bright spark had this idea. Well, what? Let's just see how far we can throw it, and then see how much it takes before it actually does break.
At what point?
It didn't. It never broke. I mean, it was one of those. It was the gift that kept on giving.
Nice. Okay. Well.
But anyway, just thinking about your career to date.
Yep.
Did you ever imagine yourself heading up the marketing for one of the biggest tech companies in the world?
No, probably is the straight answer. I think if I look at it and I look at my career path, and bear in mind I've worked in very male-dominated industries, if we're being really honest. It's always been around, and this is why I really understand and connect to a point with some of the conversations around entrepreneurial spirit. It's like, it was just about drive. It's like, where do I go next? What do I do next? What problem do I need to solve? And so right the way through my career, it's always been around, there's a problem, I can see quite clearly solution for it. How do I bring people together to overcome that problem that therefore pivots the business and therefore grows the business. And I was really lucky to work at 20th Century Fox when the business was transitioning from a physical business, DVDs and rental DVDs and the Blockbusters of the world, into a digital business. That, you know, we now all think it's quite normal to watch something on Netflix or watch something on Amazon Prime, but none of those business models existed.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we, the transition of skill set, the transition of mindset, the transition of how we commercialize the business, you know, and because 20th Century Fox has a lot of local acquisition. So not only have you got the big blockbuster films, but the local films.
Yeah.
How do you do that? And how do you make sure that you take everybody on the journey? For me, was a really, really important part of my learning. And it taught me that you can work in a big business, but you've got to pivot and you've got to be really, really sharp around what's going on around you. And then moving into technology, you know, I look at it and go, everybody has a phone. It doesn't matter which, well, most people have a phone, you know, or some people have more than one. And how technology and how important technology plays a part in who consumers are, how they behave, and living and breathing that, I find it really exciting. So, you know, for me, that's where I get my energy from.
Like on the surface of it, it's hard to sort of see how that journey from the sort of entertainment and content space works, but kind of everything is content now.
It's about mindset, right, as well. It's like I'm a ridiculously determined person. I'm passionate about change. I'm passionate about being in businesses that understand the consumer. And so it didn't really matter which industry I end up in. It's about what I do in that and how I change it. And so I look at it and go, content, fast-paced business, mobile, fast-paced business, similarities there. The second thing is actually you live and die by how good the last thing you brought to market was.
Yeah.
And one thing in Samsung's and in film, incredible innovation, incredible. And my job is responsibly to take that to the consumer in whichever form, whether that be somebody watching a film or somebody going, I want to buy the new S24. It's like my job's to take that technology and translate that into a consumer message that makes sense, or a business message or whatever it might be. But the point is, that's quite exciting because that's where you actually really, you understand who your consumers are, how they're behaving, what technology I need to support the models we're going out with. You know, what I've just come from a meeting where we were talking a lot about AI and AI in marketing, and it's like I'm learning as much as I'm teaching the market about our products. It's incredible.
AI is a fascinating topic and a sort of never-ending topic.
It's the new thing.
I just feel like we're just scratching the surface, and it's going to be fundamental, if not existential, to a lot of the agency side of the industry.
100%. I mean, I was talking today around just simple things like AI has always been here. So it's not like it's a new thing. You know, predictive writing, Google was 2015, I think that's when it first came through. But the reality of where we're now putting that in the hands of the consumer, with it going to the hands of the consumer in it whichever way, truthfully, that also means the models that sit behind that have to change. And it's pretty fascinating. But it's also, you know, you got to, AI is it's like saying the bus. It's like how many seats are on the bus? What's the engine of the bus? It's like there's lots of different connotations depending on which industry you work in with what AI can do. Because, you know, what the medical industry can use versus what I'll do will be very different, or what marketing might use. And I think that my job and the job we've got is to demystify some of that, make it simple.
Yeah, I can see that, and I can see that that's a gift, an opportunity, and a curse.
It's the bit that goes, so what factor? AI, great, so what? As a consumer, so what?
Yeah.
What I want to know is, are you making my life easier, smarter, and more fun, right? Giving me time to do the things I need to do.
Yeah.
That's what AI really should be.
Yeah.
AI should be taking away the mundane and giving you time to do the things you need to do.
And I think that's brilliant and such a human articulation, and this sort of idea that, you know, as an entrepreneur, mostly you're doing it on your own or with you know, one or two people. The sort of pathway that entrepreneurs go through is just fraught with so many things that can derail that journey.
I think 100% agree with you, and we've been doing some working with B2B businesses, you know, people that have either just started their business or are on the journey. And the learnings I've taken from that are, you know what, it's tough, first of all. And you know what, there is no moment that speaking to these people, you realise when you're on your own, you're debating, you've got a great idea. It's taking that idea and how you turn that into action.
Yeah.
And having the support network and the community around you to do that, because everybody thinks the support network is about people that know business. It isn't actually. It's someone who's also managing your emotions through that point, because it's damn scary. To the other side of it, where it's like, where does technology help? And one of the things I'm particularly passionate around is, how does technology help you on that journey? How does it help you find your community? And, bear in mind that a lot of entrepreneurs will actually start as side hustles. So you've got a job to do and you're trying to scale a business. I mean, I look at it and go, openly, the job that you've got to do is quite scary. So making sure that people are there to support, whether that be communities, whether that be friends, whatever, that is almost the number one thing that stops people going to that next point.
Yeah.
And then there's the next piece, which is, I've done a brilliant job of creating a business model. Then it's like, okay, how do I scale it?
Yeah.
And you can be an absolutely brilliant technical innovator. And then it's like, suddenly I've got to manage people. Suddenly I've got to work out how to do my finances. I've got to work, and that's pretty daunting. And so again, technology and some of the apps and some of the communities that are there to support people, I found that quite fascinating, not from my eyes, because, I work in a big organisation, but listening to the people we're talking to and the businesses we're talking to, how important that's been.
I've always had this view about around people and the idea of being an entrepreneur, and it's like there is something about being an entrepreneur where everybody can do it or be one, and it's just about extent. And sometimes it's also about timing as well, because the way that our lives work, sometimes people don't have the opportunity for one reason or another until suddenly there is an opportunity presented and they're able to take it. So quite often people kind of stumble across their entrepreneurial side.
Well, there's an entrepreneur in everyone, right? It's just how able you are to take that and create something from that is a business. And that's not easy. You can have a brilliant idea. We've all probably at some point in the middle of the night woken up and gone, why have we not done this? Reality of it is that it takes very special skills and a very determined drive to get, and the right support network. I keep going back to support network because it came through so strongly in the research we did that most people, I think it's like 54% of people don't take their idea any further because they haven't got anyone to go, come on, go do it. This is going to be all right, or actually, have you seen QuickBook, or have you seen these tools are available to you to help you do these things?
Yes.
Because no one understands, I wouldn't understand how to go and start up tax implications or have HR implications, what the pension rules look like if you're scaling your business. There's a lot to learn, and there is support there to do that, but also the mental support around you're doing a good job, because we all need crutches. We all need people around us.
That's a big thing that's often overlooked, because with the concept of entrepreneurs, you generally see the big successes. You see the sort of the media personas, you see, Dragon's Den and, things like that. And it sort of portrays this sort of world of the entrepreneur as, incredibly confident, extrovert, knows their stuff, good at, and it's like, wow. And it's intimidating.
Well, it's also even down to, and I was talking recently with a group of, I was doing some work with Condé Nast, and we were talking, they had some incredibly inspiring women talking about the businesses they'd scaled. And one of the things that came through is, how do you get funding? Yeah. And how many times you have to go and have conversations around funding, who you have to talk to, the way you even get through the door to get funding. And, for me, it was really interesting just listening to, okay, these are the steps you go through. This is what you've got to do. You've actually got to be quite persistent. You've got to understand your narratives, get someone to help you tell your story, because the most brilliant idea or the most brilliant startup company can truthfully fall down because they just don't know how to write a business plan, because you've never had to write one. Right? Why would you have to write any sort of plan of any kind? And I did a lot of work in a previous life with Holly Tucker, who does a lot of things on. She obviously used to found Not on the High Street, but then she started up this whole small business SOS, and it was fascinating to see, particularly creative businesses, have some support there. And I think that there's so much work that needs to be done in the space to help people.
I read something around how males generally tend to have more success when it comes to pitching for money than females.
That's what was being said in part of this discussion, was men have more success, and also different ethnic groups have more success, which is a shame, right? But then I also, I sit here and it's International Women's Week, and, we hope that there is no need for an International Women's Week in the future, because there's gender equality eventually sorts itself out. Reality of it is, it exists. I've lived through a number of challenges where I've been sat in rooms that have not had many people that look like me. But you've got to ignore that, use it as a superpower.
Yes.
And I really mean that. And it sounds like a really sweeping statement to make, but when I've sat in boardrooms where I've been asked to take notes, and the first time I did take the notes, I was like, yeah, of course, first meeting, I'll take the notes, just new sales director. And the second time I walked into the room, they said, are you taking the notes, Nika? And I reacted straight away without thinking about it. I said, why have you got no pen? Use my pen. No one ever asked me to take the notes in a meeting again. And the point is, you've got to never make someone else feel bad for doing anything, but at the same time own your space. And for me, I walk into many meetings and have in my entire career where I might be the only person in the room. I see it now as a strength. Yeah. Because I'm like, do you know what? I'm here. First of all, I'm here to represent. Second thing is actually, do you know what? I'm by the nature of being one or so in the room, I've got a voice, a different voice, and I've got to use it very, very proudly on behalf of the people that will hopefully come in the future. And I've got 2 girls, and I keep saying the reality of it is I don't want them to live in the world that I had to go through. And the pathways and when we go back to funding, etc., it shouldn't matter who you are, it should matter about the idea. And I do think that's starting to happen, but it takes time to change behaviours that have been here for a long time. The other thing I would say is, we talked about friends and family, and again, it's another big area that people get funding from. Just make sure when you're stepping into that space, again, from the learnings I've heard, is that you've got some rules around that funding, because you should never borrow money off your friends and family unless there's some guardrails around it to say this is what it means, because you don't want to lose those people on the way through the ups and downs, because that also adds an additional pressure potentially if you haven't got the right rules in place from the start to your journey and where you're going to go. Yeah. Because you don't want someone going, well, I lent you so much money and where's my return? It's like you've got to be really clear around when that return will come, if it'll come, and the nature of how it's being given. Because I think people, listening again to the people I've spoken to, they borrow money from their family, and you're in the most high pressured situation because you're trying to scale a business, and someone's saying, I want to go on holiday next year, can I have some of that money back? You can lose. You need to be really careful around that and make sure the rules are really clear.
Is it okay just to talk about the S24 for a sec?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the S24.
I was telling you earlier on, I've got an S21 and I love it. I really, really love it. And I'm having problems preparing
for a change.
For a change.
Well, let me take you on that journey. Do you know what? The S24, we launched, hopefully some of the people that are listening saw the drone show that kicked this all off. I mean, 13% of the population saw that. And, that was the start of Samsung saying, we are here in AI. And my job and my team's job was to take that AI journey around. We know it's got the best battery, it's got the best camera, all of these things, but then the software that's sat inside that now. And as I said earlier, demystify this whole AI conversation and make it around, these are the things that this is what it actually means. So what it means is I can take a photo of something, I can circle it, and the internet will find it for me. What it means is I can speak to somebody in another country, and I can use voice translate to translate that conversation in real time, whether that be me on holiday or wanting to book a restaurant, or whether that be me as a business wanting to open commerce in China and I don't speak Chinese. Right the way through, and there's so many features, but right the way through to like photo edit, I can edit a photo in a quality way that means that, I can actually post things on my social and they're quality photos, and we're doing that responsibly. So the key thing for me is, AI, and we know that 80% of images that sit on the internet right now I think are in some way doctored. The fact that we've actually built into the metadata the 4 stars so people know that it's been edited, it's trying to take a responsible step in this space. And so the S24 is, and even AI in the background, S24 will optimize your battery to your life. So even things you don't see, it's helping making your life easier. And the core for all of this that really sits at the heart is it's giving people more time to do the things they need to do. It's like having your own assistant. It's taking some of the mundane tasks of your life, making them as simplified as possible so that you can do the stuff that actually you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, take that, Apple. I mean, it's incredible that. It's really exciting. I'm going to get one.
All right,
now.
good. Checking on mine.
but it's brilliant, and it's a leveler. It's reflecting back on the research you've done into entrepreneurs and the barriers, whether they're real or to do with your confidence or accessing support, and you can just see how if you were starting up, you can see how AI then just helps you compete against things that you couldn't compete against.
For me, it just opens doors.
Yeah.
It's like, there's lots of things that cost money when you're scaling a business and take time. You haven't got much time. And generally, as I said before, it could be your scale business, your entrepreneurial business might be a side hustle to your main job, which we do see a lot of that. The reality of it is you need to do that as efficiently and as high quality as you physically can.
Yeah.
And so, I want to know that I can put the best photograph up of my business to demonstrate what I do. I want in an internet space, I want to know that my battery's going to last as long as it possibly can. I want to know that I'm going to be able to have a meeting and I can quickly send a message from that meeting that's transcribed the entire conversation and it's written in my style of language.
Yeah.
And we're only just at the start of this. So, I look at it and go, there's a couple of things you're going to see. It's like AI is here in everything now. And it's about how you want to use it. So it's like, if I want to, I'm someone who spends a lot of time, sadly, shopping, generally on the run, trying to buy my kids a present for something. And actually, the one thing that happens, Circle to Search is brilliant for me. I was looking the other day about a holiday resort, and then on Instagram, in the background was a place, and I was like thinking, I'd love to go there. I don't know where it is. I circled to search the back of the photo, I think it was an advert for a bikini, but I was looking at the place behind. Circled to search it, and it told me where it was. And I was like, wow, okay, I can't afford to go to Bora Bora, but it's a really cool place to go to.
Yeah. It's good to know.
It's good to know.
One day.
But the whole point is it's the speed of things and the ease of things.
Given, a big part of your role is about omni-channel.
Yep.
It's like everything is kind of shopping now. And also in the old days, customer journeys were quite long-winded and quite linear, and there was an order to it, and it's like everything just happens, like now, like in an instant.
People they have minimum of 7 behaviours before they buy something. So it's the bit that goes, you might go into a store and pick up the product and have a look. And I'm looking at retail here from as in something you can touch and feel versus a service. You might go into a store, pick it up. You might go online and read about it. You might go onto YouTube and do something. You find something in social. The amount of different sources that you're going to utilise when you want to make a purchase, particularly when it's technology and it's a little bit more expensive, it's, you are, when you're buying a TV, you're going to look at it in lots of different ways because it's got to work for you. And actually, we need to make sure that we've got a consistency all the way through that. So the consistent journey that consumers got, the same messages in a different way, sit in different channels, because I'm going to Samsung.com because I want to be able to understand the product in depth, and I may buy from there, but I may go to where my operator store is, where my account is. I might want to touch and feel the product, so I'm therefore going to go into X store. There's so many different behaviours that all come together, and if you miss one of those or you misstep on one of them, actually you lose the consumer. And that's the most important thing we're all trying to do, is to have a genuine, authentic conversation with our consumers in their style, not in ours.
I can also see how there's been massive innovation and improvement in the sort of digital experience that leads to a purchase. I can also see that there's an increasing amount of work going into like the post-purchase experience. So particularly, what if there's a problem, or I need to return it, or what's the delivery thing? How does the delivery work, and who's delivering it?
And that's why AI is amazing, because actually some of this can be done in an automated fashion. You don't necessarily need to speak to somebody about some of these things, and that's been around for a while, right? But then I also look at it and go, I've got a job to do when I look at S24 and AI. It's like everyone goes, brilliant, I've got the phone. How do I use it? And it's like now, part of the journey I'm going on is actually take the consumer through, this is what it can do. This is what the product does. And that's a post-purchase discussion in some ways. Because then when you've got the phone in your hand, you're like, okay, these are the things it can do and how it works for my life. And so communicating that and doing it in an authentic and right way, and doing it quickly, if I'm being honest, because you've got to do these things fast. Everything's super fast now. Is a challenge and opportunity.
One of the things that I've also become kind of really interested in is like the the sort of clash of cultures. So it's like when you're surrounded by people that's the same, look the same, sound the same sort of backgrounds, it really does kind of destroy any energy and innovation. I was just wondering about, how you feel about that, and also, both of us are sort of both of us work for a Korean organisation, and that there are, sort of things that come from a management culture perspective that are often are different to a Western environment. I'm just wondering how that kind of adds extra sort of spice and energy to your process.
Do you know what I mean? I've come from, I've worked with very heavily American organisations in the past, so I have actually working with people. The world is open these days, right? Versus where it might have been X amount of years ago. People move around.
Yes.
And what I would say, working with the Korean culture, the thing I'm incredibly proud of is that if you look at Korea and how it's the country and the culture, and when you go to Korea, it blows my brain how technologically advanced they are. Everything to things that you would expect. It kind of makes you feel like we're quite backward in terms of how advanced they are. But with that comes a work ethic. And the work ethic I see coming from Korea is they work very incredibly hard. But because now, Samsung's a global business. People are moving. They come to the UK, they go back, they go to America.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, what I'm seeing is a meeting of two cultures that's very interesting. You're seeing the Western culture and you're seeing the Korean culture come together, which means you get the hardworking ethic, but at the same time, more openness around trying to understand, how dynamics are changing in the market. And actually, it puts particularly the UK and America right at the forefront of some of that conversation, because the UK is an incredibly dynamic market, irrelevant to what sector you work in. It's sort of the home ground of behaviour. You look at behaviours, it's an incredibly fast commerce market, but it's also got consumer behaviours from lots of different cultures. So they look at us for quite a lot of understanding around what do we do, where do we go next, how do we adapt our business, and we have a bigger voice than I would probably say I've seen even from working with my American counterparts in the past. But that, hardworking, relentlessly, relentless to want to be number one. Yeah. And you look at the technology and you can't question the innovation being number one.
I lived in Asia for a while. When I was there, I learnt Korean.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So I had a Korean tutor like every week. And I found it really difficult.
Yeah, it's hard.
But I think what I got most out of it was understanding of culture and outlook and the whole journey of South Korea.
It's incredible.
And I think that more than anything is the thing that I've kind of carried with me, and just the appreciation and respect that the whole country is on this incredible globalization journey from almost having nothing to where it is now, a really modern global.
And I think
country.
There's a key word you just used there for me: the culture around respect.
Yeah,
I find it actually really quite sad when I step back into some of the UK culture, because the respect levels that sit in the Korean culture around how you behave, what you do, it's a really lovely thing to see, actually. I'd never been to Korea before, and then I suddenly went there. I was like, Seoul is beautiful, right? Actually, and you also look at the cultural references that are coming through the UK. K-pop is a huge thing right now. Seeing Gangnam and seeing there's a whole. It's almost where it's such a cool culture to be a part of, and I sort of look at that, and sometimes with Samsung I'm like, we're not leaning into that enough, because it is very, very cool, some of the stuff that's coming through.
Yeah, it totally is, and I think they often underestimate themselves and their journey and what they've achieved.
It's incredible,
and what it means in the world, at large. And
it's also, like Samsung's a top 5 brand that's come out of Korea. That's but it's not a very old brand when you really think about it. And it's like, and it's still maintaining its position as number one across technology. It's like, that's pretty cool. I think the fact that we've been the first to launch an AI phone in the world, I'm proud of working for a company that is thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're going to wrap up in a second.
Yep.
But I just thought, if there's any advice you would give your younger self, knowing what you know now.
Drink less. No, my advice would be.
The advice that you would take.
My advice would be, do you know what? when you're young, there's a few things. I'll talk to myself. I took myself too seriously sometimes.
Yeah.
I would say is the first thing. It's like you're so desperate to get on the career ladder, move yourself forward. Sometimes it's just like you take everything so seriously. It's like it's not the be all and end all of the world. You know, you can work hard and play hard, but you need to laugh at yourself on the way through. I think the second thing I would say is you have to just kind of keep that inner belief. Keep going, right? You know what? There's always a disaster. There's always something you've done wrong, but actually learn from it, move on, don't make the same mistake twice. And enjoy the ride, because sometimes you can be so busy looking at what the next thing is, you forget the moment you're in and the achievements you've got to get you there. And, you know, if you can't live in the moment and go, you know, no one wants, you know, there's something I think it's Deepak Chopra says, which says resist to exist. The minute you exist, you've lost the plot, right? So you'll always be thinking, what can I do next? But enjoy the moment. When you have those moments where you come out of a meeting or you've had fun with whatever it might be, just take a moment to go, shit, that was a good day, because it'll make you feel better about the bad days. And my final piece of advice to myself, and I live this, is you've got to laugh at the bad times. Sometimes you've got to find the humour in the most disastrous situations, because if you don't, you know, you look down, you go down. You've got to find humour and figure out how you're going to work through it, take it seriously. But don't sit there and mull over and, you know, decompress every single area of what you've done wrong. Go, I've learned from it. What are the key learnings? What are we going to do to change?
Yeah, and that's really cool. That, and I can identify with that sort of sense of you have to keep going. You have to find a way through things. You have to pivot. You've got to play to your strengths and be authentic around your own skills and what you want from the situation that you're in.
I think the final thing, sorry if I can just have one more, is, you know, I'm a mum of two. And, you know what, I see some business leaders sitting there and say they get up at 4 a.m, they go for a run. They're like these incredible people that are like doing everything and super mums. I'm just about surviving, and it's okay to just about survive, right? Generally, on most days, there is one of the 3 or 4 areas of my life, work, home, friends, family, that I've probably got wrong, and it's okay.
Yes.
And I'm sick of hearing people say, you know, I'm smashing every single element of my life. It's like, no, you're not. Like, no one is. No one on this planet is. You know what? I miss the occasional school play or something at school. My daughter is playing football this afternoon.
Fantastic.
I'm not there, all right? I'm not there. You've got to give yourself a break on some of those things and make sure when you are there, you're very present. And I mean this for anybody who is in a business or in a life where they sit there and think, I can't do it all. No one can. We're all just holding on. And so don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah. Do you think we'll be able to interest Samsung in a builder's phone?
There is already. I mean, your
Don't tell me it exists.
Your Find phone is rugged devices that you can drop. Like, rugged devices mean you can basically drop it from a window.
I'm going to get one,
Like,
then I'm going to throw it.
And then you're going to stick a fin on the end of it. No, rugged devices are designed so that you can do hardcore things with them.
That's good.
But please don't use that fin anywhere near me.
Yeah, I think that is good advice. Thank you. So thank you so much.
No, it's been great
for joining us. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. And look out for our next episode. And, feel free to download this from wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you.
Thank you.